Alrighty, so we're back on the E30. As you might be able to tell, we've made a bit of progress on it. Before I get into any of this, or this, I'm going to take you back to where I left you last time with the unboxings. So my original plan for this video was to give you guys a really well put together edit of me just, bolting things up to the engine. It all goes together, sunshine and rainbows, put the engine in the car and send it off for fab. But I pretty much hit a roadblock with basically every part, and that is just the sad reality of project cars sometimes, and the side you don't see. It's been a learning experience. So I'll start with the LPSR purple tag kit. Buying a really well thought out kit where everything is actually included is something I'll never regret. All the tie rods, all the spacers bolted straight in. Massive improvement on the lock. I think this is now like 3 turns, lock to lock. Here's a look at the steering coupler. I still need to put on the power steering delete block off here, but there's the slip joint. Easy as. Put some new hardware in there as well. Here's a look at the difference. So that's with the wheel straight. That's 1 turn. That's your other half at full lock. Back to center. Way faster. I think the factory one is like 4.5 turns lock to lock, so an extra full turn and a half just to get to one side. After fitting that kit, I went on to put on the Skunk 2 billet cover. Pretty straightforward. Now, you'll also notice here I made the switch to both K-Power for the sump and the mounts. Mainly just much preferred the design of both of them. Was not a fan of my oil pickup in that sump. It also had no baffles in it, and the mounts, I wanted something with a bit more rubber between the mount and the subframe. The K-Power ones seem to be a better design, and they use an OEM style M3 mount, which I can change again to even softer if I'm not happy with these. So one of the things I didn't realise, this is my previous water neck, is apparently it's a pretty common thing. Again, I'm still learning about K24s, but my entire top section of the water pump housing, which is here, was lopped off. And this is the AC and power steering delete kit from K-Tune. So when I went to go and rearrange them all, you need to put on factory belt tensioner. This is like the idler tension or whatever. That whole mounting is cut off here. So it put me into panic mode for a second because I was like, what the difference with mine? But ended up sorting that out with an OEM one. Bought all new OEM Honda stuff, and now it's just waiting for an aircon compressor to go back down here, and everything will pretty much be in the OEM location besides the power steering pump delete up here. In doing that, also realised that now my Prackworks manifold doesn't fit, which I was absolutely devastated about. So it's essentially made to work only with the delete kit that I had just taken off and spent all that time refreshing everything. So I got onto them. They'd made one prototype before for someone else, I think, that had this problem, and sent me out the revised V2, which is now on their website, which is fantastic for anyone else. But was shattered at the time, but it's been rectified now. I'll get onto that later. Then got the engine off the crane to start fitting up the driveline. So I started that with the JSP adapter plate. That went on easily enough, except my starter doesn't fit. There's 2 types, and of course mine was wrong. So simple enough, I just got to get the other version of it, which has a different head that fits. But went on fine. Then came the Clutchmasters flywheel. Again, the same problem that none of my sockets fit. So I got 3 different brands of chrome and impact sockets. None of them work. They're all too thick to sort of fit in the gap. So a 17mm became a victim of the flappy disc to fit in there, and then that went on smoothly enough. Pro tip I looked up, if you've never seen this, to stop the flywheel spinning, if you just chuck a ring spanner on a bell housing bolt and a flywheel bolt in, it locks it from spinning. That may be old news for some, but it really saved me right now. Sweet, clutch time. Then it was time to put the clutch kit on. That went on simple enough, and put on all those OEM Honda bits like the fork and the slave and boot and whatnot, and bolted up the box of the engine, which went on simply enough, few alignment issues, but got it in the end. So here's where it gets interesting, and you're going to want to hear this if you're doing the swap and what was pretty much the bane of my existence. So the 625 S2000 box mount, I'm pretty sure the way that they've designed their entire kit is no cutting of the shifter hole. So they based their box where that shifter hole was and built everything forward from then. K-Power, on the other hand, have built everything to be as far back as it possibly can with a BMW box. And that's pretty much, look, I knew K-Power mounts fit pretty poorly as it was, but how they fit in this was ridiculous. Like, my water neck was on the firewall, gouged with brand new paint. The box sat crooked with the engine in the bay. I'm not sure who was to blame there, but that's just sort of what happens when you're using multiple company sort of parts. I ended up spending around 2 nights, around 6 hours each time trying to get this to line up. Tried subframe spaces, tried to chock a few things, lift a few things, see where I could make it work, but pretty much just it was out of my hands at that stage that something had to be customised and cut. And I was not the man to do any of that. So this is where we enter Benny from Third Strike Fabrication's realm. He's a good friend of mine and probably the most talented fabricator I know. And a week before the booking, told him about all these issues, had no complaints, or at least that he told me, and knocked this out of the park. He moved the K-Power mounts forward 25mm, remade the bottom half of the 625 Inc mount to suit where it was meant to be. And then after that was done, it was time for the stuff that he really excels at. So I'll have to get the car out of the garage to show off some of this work in the sunlight. But to start off, these are his trademark, the high-rise headers. I first saw a set of these in titanium on his own K-Swap AE86. And just like the Prackworks manifold, knew I had to have a set in my own car. And as you can see, it gets pretty tight down near the steering column, especially going a 3-inch, but it all worked out pretty nice. It does look super tight, but there is quite a bit of clearance either side. I will need to do some heat insulation, but that's no big deal. Yeah, also mounted up the Willwood clutch reservoir. Made a sick little bracket for that. Then moving on, he mounted up the TF Works rad, and just the little details, his welds are better than Koyo rads, but really stoked with how this all turned out. Even the little AN outlets that he modified, because I do want to run some of those Define or Dime PSI hoses. And this is also the revised Prackworks manifold. If you rewind, you'll see the difference. You can probably see how the runners are now curved and come to the center, and they sit way further out past and higher than both the pulleys. The drive-by-wire got fitted as well. He made up a little intake pipe, and this airbox is a work of art as well. The way this contours with the guard, super stoked. I love the way the front of it looks also. Don't think you'll see it in the end, but just how it's just full radiator in that open space. And this 3-inch all the way to the back of the car, did a super neat little twin tip. Looks like OEM Plus, which I'm really happy with. I should probably mention also he did cut the shifter hole to suit and made it work with the OEM AP1 rubber, which I didn't even ask for, but it just turned out so nice. And I think he had to take out a little bit off the back and sides to make it work, but ended up perfect. So to wrap this all up, I'm super happy with how this all turned out, minus all the headaches, but that's just cars for you, isn't it? But I just want to say thanks for watching, guys, if you got this far, and I appreciate the love on the last video as well. Hopefully with all these big items done, I can sort of just tick away at a few small things and film as I go, instead of sort of having to narrate an entire episode of what I've done. But thank you again, and I'll see you hopefully in a few weeks. Take it easy.